Look, this is just like we talked about. There's enough cash in that safe to put the last few weeks behind us. We stay alive, we keep the house, everything goes back to normal.
I don't know. What if he's got an alarm or something?
Nah, he'd have one of those signs out front. You're always out skulking in the woods, climbing trees and all that. We all know you're good at it. And you want to help the family, right?
You know I do.
What is up?
Here's your
I am
chance.
coming back at you guys. We have another story-based game that I can gush all over. So let's just get right into it. Today we're going to be talking about As Dusk Falls. This is a relatively fresh release, so I'm going to try and be light on the spoilers, but there's some things that, you know, I just have to talk about because, my gosh, am I so in love with this game right now. As Dusk Falls came out the 19th, I believe, of July. I had seen a little bit of information about it, not too much, but enough to be like, hey, you know, it's free on Game Pass, I'll give it a go. My gosh, was my reservations blown out of the water. Like,
On the ground, now! I said get on the ground!
like I said, I did not come in expecting to really be ranting on this game on this channel for a very long time, but I have a lot of fun, fresh stuff coming, talking just about this game and how excited I am to play it and be a part of it and catch it this early in its life cycle. So let's just dive right into it. Like I said, gonna try and be light on spoilers, but there will be a little bit. So, I mean, if you're super worried about that, this may not be the review for you. Like I said, it just came out a couple weeks ago, so I'm really gonna try and be pretty nice here. So, obviously, it's a narrative-driven game, so we're going to be talking about story here. Story is a big part of any narrative-driven game. This game especially, they have a really unique approach about how they do their animation and their scene-by-scene, the content there. And that was the immediate kind of reservation I had having watched the trailer. I was like, I don't know what I don't know how I'm feeling about this. I was like, if this is going to work, they've got to have a really strong story. And boy, howdy, was it incredibly powerful. We follow basically like two families who collide at pivotal points in their life. That collision follows them through 30 years and who knows how many years thereafter. And it's a really, really unique and kind of incredible experience. So you have the Walker family who are moving from California to Missouri, which oddly enough is a move that I've done myself. And then they get run off the road by three brothers and they're stuck in this kind of desert dream motel in Arizona. And then we follow the three brothers who are doing like a heist at a sheriff's house. Then the plot thickens when the two collide again in the motel and just things just kind of get crazy from there. Absolutely bonkers. And then after it's all said and done, you kind of just, like I said, you experience how this one singular event can make two families like now way more involved with each other than they would have ever have been. They were complete strangers before this.
You did good.
You're worried. I can see it.
We had plans, Dale and me. I was gonna start a construction company. He helped me design a logo for it. But then these people... It was get the money or we're dead. If you were in our shoes, you don't walk the same way.
If it meant saving my family, yeah. I guess I would.
Huh? Tyler!
I'll be right there. You should never have come to Two Rock.
And then it just goes out of control and off the rails from there. Like I said, really, really soft kind of overview here of the story, but there are so many twists and so many turns that it will keep you on the edge of your seat and it will always make you want to see what happens next. This story operates on like a constant escalation scale, so it's like playing this story is like walking up a flight of stairs, and it's not so much that you ever come down the flight of stairs either. It's like by the time you reach the end of this story, you've just gone upstairs, so to speak.
Now you're looking on the bright side.
It's like every time there's a new scene, it's just escalating a little bit and escalating a little bit and escalating a little bit until like 1 second you realize, oh, like, holy crap, we were just moving to Missouri like 5 minutes ago and now there's a gun in my face. Just absolute wonderful kind of story going on, awesome storytelling, and the acting is on point. And like I said, the art style really does complement the storytelling. That was like my biggest off-putting walking into it, but I promise you, if you enjoy narrative games, don't judge this one just because it's not like 3D animated or anything like that. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous game. My only, and this is like a really minor complaint, and it's like, you know, I feel like I don't want to sit here and gush endlessly about something, so I have to find something. My only complaint would be that at times the drama in the story does feel a bit soap opera-ish. This comes especially in the forefront when they reveal the truth behind Jay's parents. Honestly, I don't know that we necessarily needed that. Like, I felt like the story was stronger when the three brothers were blood brothers. It makes the conflict between Tyler and Jay all the more palpable when they're actually blood brothers. I mean, that twist just kind of came too far out of the soap opera realm for me. But once again, that is a really, really minor complaint on my end, just as someone who's trying to give my honest opinion of the game. That was like the only complaint I would have about the story. And it's like, if one angle of this incredibly complex plot was not for me, then hats off to them for only making one angle that was just kind of meh. But, you know, once again, can't say enough. This story is enthralling, it's invigorating, it's amazing. It is a great piece that we all need to experience. Moving right along, another huge part of any narrative-driven game is going to be the characters. So this game, it works on an odd little timeline. So like a majority of it takes place in 1998. The events of this motel and the things that happen almost immediately thereafter. And then there's a good chunk of the game that happens in 2012, like not a huge chunk, but enough. And then there's a good chunk of the game that happens like just before the events of the motel. And that's like really interesting, like character building, story building stuff going on there. And so the characters. So in 1998, you're following Vince Walker, who is Zoe Walker's dad. And you kind of control the situation through his eyes as you experience the brothers when you run into them in this desert dream motel and things start to go south.
You were gonna shoot me, point blank, with a shotgun in front of your whole family?
It wasn't loaded?
No, but you didn't know that. You were ready to do it.
Simultaneously, in the first half of this story, you'll control Jay, who's the youngest of the three brothers, but you only control him in the sequences that happen in the past. So it's like you're learning about Jay's past whilst experiencing what he's doing in the present and kind of getting a better understanding for who he is and why he's where he is and what he's doing. And then from there, you move along into the second half of the story, and the second half of the story really follows Jay kind of to the T. I don't know, you spend a little bit of time playing as other side characters from the story before, and that's primarily, I think, just to tell you, like, hey, this is what's up with these guys, but the meat and potatoes of part 2 is Jay.
Hello?
I have a collect call from Dean.
Oh my god. Yes, I accept. I didn't think I'd hear from you again.
Vanessa, I need help.
Why? What's wrong?
I'm in Utah. I don't have any money. I've barely slept.
Whoa, slow down. Utah? Are you in some kind of trouble?
I had this argument with my brother. He said, well, it don't matter. But I left. I ran away.
And so
Okay.
I think it's safe to say that like Jay, Vince, and maybe Zoe I would consider to be like the principal cast members. They're the three people that show up on the poster. So I guess they're the three people that the developers felt like were the most important. But I mean, I feel like Jay definitely gets the crown here for being like the main character. All the characters in this story bring something unique to the table. That was another great thing that they did with their narrative-driven story is characters have a lot of quirks. and they respond differently to different kinds of dialogue choices, so to speak. So Dale, who's the middle of the three brothers, he responds really well to jokes. I discovered early on I told a joke for whatever reason, and he responded really well to that. And then you get to another part where they're asking for pizza, and you're trying to befriend the guy, and if you tell him a joke there, he'll actually give you the pizza. So I'm like, okay, that's really neat. And so that's something I can respect. It's a really nuanced thing that they did with their characters, but it makes their side characters kind of leap off the page, so to speak, because they have a lot of side cast and not a lot of main cast, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. In fact, most stories probably operate that way. But the three characters that I said that we're talking mostly about would be Vince, and then Zoe, and then Jay. Just going with Vince because I feel like he's the one that's you probably see the least. Like, he's such a big part of the first half of the story, and then it almost doesn't exist after that. He's a family man. He's just an everyday guy trying to do his best in life, and he has some struggles with work. He got laid off for controversial reasons, and his dad wants him to sue the airlines, and his wife wants him to just sign the papers and be done with it. And he's just kind of caught in the middle there. He's got the drama with his dad, who was never around and just straight up left the family when, I don't know, he was a teenager or 10 or something like that. And he's got marital issues, and so it's just, like I said, he's just kind of your average guy. He's got nothing real special going for him, and then he gets thrown in this situation with the Holt family, and you kind of see how just your everyday average guy would handle that. And they did really good at capturing that.
Hey, it's me. It's Vince. I'm coming in.
Daddy!
I didn't hurt her. I promise.
I know. I heard. Zoe, you okay?
Daddy, I don't want to be here anymore.
So then the next character to talk about would be Zoe Walker, who is 6 years old during the events of the actual Desert Dream Motel incident, whatever the heck you want to call it. She is 6 years old during this. She is Vince's daughter, and you kind of get to see the direct impact that Jay as a character has on her when she is that young. And then in the second half of the story, you get to see how those story events impacted her as a full-fledged adult. And it really culminates into something really beautiful and awesome. Once again, there's not too much to be said about her character in 98 because she was only 6. And then seeing how the events of 98 affected her as a full-fledged adult, that was really interesting. They tackled that in a really meaningful way, I believe.
Why did the lights go out?
Don't speak. Don't make a sound.
And then, so moving right along, I feel like the meat and potatoes here is Jay. And the wonderful thing about Jay is he's a really soft-hearted, wonderful kind of guy. And you can see how someone like that could very easily be drugged into this situation. They have this interesting dynamic between the players choosing what kind of person Jay is and Jay choosing what kind of person Jay is. So with these narrative games, it's really important to give players meaningful choice. And they absolutely did that with Jay's character. It would have been very easy for them to have just written him in a particular way and just said, okay, this is how Jay's going to be, and then we're going to give you minor choices that kind of tweak how he's going to be. But there is very major choices that are essentially the determining factors of whether or not Jay is an innocent human being who was just dragged in here because his family was in trouble and he's just trying to keep the peace and just make it out of here alive, versus Jay is this innocent person who was dragged into this and then is going to adapt to that situation and become just as ruthless as his family is. It creates this very interesting story dynamic as you're kind of watching his character unfold, and the decisions you make have an impact, but then the decision he makes independently also has an impact, and it keeps you on your toes in an absolutely necessary way. And there are times where I just sympathize head over heels for this character, and I am a sucker for any character that I can feel sorry for. If you write a character and I can feel sorry for the guy, chances are 9 times out of 10 I am going to love that character, and that is absolutely Jay for me. And there's times where he's doing stuff and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Stop. That's not cool. And you know, that's part of it. Like I said, it really adds to the dramatic tension of the story. The characters, cannot say enough. The characters are great. The side characters are all something unique. I could sit here and rant on about characters forever. I'll probably just do character studies, honestly, at this point. But Jay is great. Zoe is great. Vince is good. And so we've got the groundwork here for some really solid storytelling. The visuals. So, as I mentioned before, with the visuals of this game, when I saw the trailer, I was not totally convinced. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. But once again, it came to Game Pass for free. I'd be a fool not to play it. And boy howdy, would I have been an even bigger fool not to have played it after having played it. My God, is it amazing. So the visuals look incredible in this game. They do something with lighting that is just, it's really hard to pinpoint, but it looks gorgeous. Like, I mean, games look great these days. I mean, I feel like they've always looked great. We can appreciate that. But there's something about like games that go for a more artistic approach with their visuals rather than traditional like ultra realism. And this game's artistic approach, whoever the heck had the vision for this game, my God, I want inside your head, because it looks great and it looks amazing. They can capture so much emotion in these still frames. I had no idea up until recently, but they actually did use motion capture for this game. I would have assumed that it was all just animated, but no, they actually did use motion capture for these still images. And there's so many images in this game that just hit you right in the gut. And it's like, oh, that hurt. And so cannot say enough about the visuals of this game and how incredibly awesome they are. So I'm going to put a little disclaimer here. This is probably the most spoily I'm going to get because I've got some theories here on the ending that I want to spill off my chest. So if you've beaten the game already, stick around and hear what I have to say. If you haven't beaten the game, get lost, buy a copy, and play it, okay? Just do it. And so moving right along, at the end of the game, we have this kind of controversial weird message playing from Jim where he's explaining to where he thinks this is all his fault. And so my kind of thoughts on that. Well, first and foremost, I think we're getting a book 3. You can't end a game like that without a book 3. Let's be honest here. So my thoughts, like right off the bat, if you remember way early on, Paul recognizes Jim pretty much immediately.
Hey, do I know you?
Nah. People just mistake me for Clint Eastwood.
And then when Sharon enters the motel, Jim puts a hat on to try and kind of disguise who he is. And then they don't really play on this whole, like, Jim has history with these people ever again until that very ending sequence where he's like, yeah, the whole reason why this happened was my fault. And so, I mean, it's pretty wild shot in the dark theory here, but I'm almost wondering if Jim is Jay's father who got with Sharon's sister and then ran off, which would make Zoe his niece. And that's some like real deep thinking processing there. Obviously Jim is involved with this somehow. He knows the people of Two Rock County, and that's my theory. I'm throwing it out there so that if they do release book 3 and it turns out that I am right, people can be like, whoa, you're like a magician. And I am a magician, and you should stop by and listen to me rant about games more often. Thanks for watching.
Got something to say?
Nope.
Go on. You think my deal had it coming, don't you?